This week on Angelo's Motorcycle, we're going to talk about wheel decals, and I'm going to show you how to put them on. Stick around. So as many of you already know, I'm an MSF rider coach, and safety is a big thing for me on a motorcycle. One of the biggest things about safety is enhancing your visibility, making yourself obvious. We do this with high-vis gear, high-vis clothing, high-vis helmets, reflectors, lights. One of the things that you can add that looks really cool is wheel decals. I'm a big fan of wheel decals, especially highly reflective ones, which these are. When you're riding at night and a car's headlights hit you from the side, these things light up like you would not believe. You see these two round, bright circles moving across, and you see them spinning. It makes yourself very visible and very obvious to other motorists. And wheel decals have come a long way. They look pretty cool, in my humble opinion. I've got a set of Kawasaki KLX racing ones for my KLX 230 that I got from a seller off of AliExpress. They were not overly expensive. I have recently changed the wheel decals on my CLX. My CFMOTO 700CL-X had regular wheel decals that looked like this. And now I have changed them to yellow decals that look like this. I think that the yellow is a substantial improvement because it matches the yellow on the bike, but they're also reflective, which the silver ones were reflective, but the silver ones were substantially smaller. The yellow ones are much wider. My CFMOTO 450 SS also has wheel decals, which look great, and I like them. Those came with those, and then the little 450 SRs are a piece I added. But my 650 Adventura came with no wheel decals whatsoever. So I had bought wheel decals for the 450 SS. I mentioned this in a previous video, and they were the wrong shade of blue. So I put them on the 650 Adventura, and they look great and function. They look like this. So I think that wheel decals add a lot to a motorcycle. So I have also ordered Harley-Davidson wheel decals that are supposed to be here very soon. They are orange, of course, because orange and black is Harley-Davidson's thing. And then separately, I ordered these decals from the internet off of a seller on eBay. And I'm going to put these on the flat part of the wheel. And we'll do this together in another video. That's coming up. But for right now, let's go ahead and get started putting these decals on the Kawasaki KLX 230S. So I want to stress very much that you need to read the instructions that come with your wheel decals. Because I'm looking at these, for example, and I'm thinking, wow, 3 of these for each side, there's not enough wheel decal here. And upon reading the instructions, you have to allow 3 inches in between the decals. So there needs to be 3 inches and then the next decal. Otherwise, you're going to run out of decal. So we got to keep that in mind. I also had a little difficulty telling which ones were the front and which ones were the back, because this motorcycle has a 21-inch front wheel and an 18-inch rear wheel. These are substantially smaller, so I'm going to assume that they are the rear wheel, because the rear wheel is smaller. So we're going to go with these in the front, those on the back, and then I also have some KLXs here that they say you can put on the rim, or you can put them wherever you want. I'm going to hold off on applying those for now because I am contemplating a graphics kit for this bike that's going to change the color a little bit. It's like a retro 90s theme with the purple, and I think that would look really cool. So I'm contemplating that. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to degrease this wheel. So you want to be careful with the degreaser. As I have said in previous videos, it does have paint removing qualities. And this motorcycle is very dirty because I just rode it not too long ago. So I am going to degrease this wheel. Wow, look at that. Anything that could prevent the decal from sticking will come off with the degreaser. If you've had any kind of chain lube or brake dust or dirt or grime, the degreaser just sprayed on a paper towel and just rubbed around the edge of the rim we'll get rid of that. And the rim always looks so nice when it's clean too, especially the rims on this motorcycle. They're like a silver aluminum color, bare aluminum, and I like them very much, and they look very cool. I'm not a huge fan of these tires. These are the tires that it came with, because I'm not planning on doing a whole bunch of like serious off-roading with this thing. I would rather have a more chunky adventure street tire. So like a Shinko, I think it's a 703 or 705 or 709, I can't remember. But Shinko makes a tire that looks like exactly what I'm thinking I would want. So I may change these tires out eventually. I'm going to run these for now, wear the knobs off them. I've got, I don't know, I think I've got maybe 700 miles on this motorcycle now, 600 or 700 miles. And keep putting some miles on these tires and wear them out. So now that this wheel is degreased, we can get started with the actual installation of the decal. So let's do that. And peel off the first decal. Now sometimes you have to flex these a little as you go because they don't necessarily match the circumference of the wheel perfectly. And you want to put it in the middle. Exactly. And then we can run our finger along it and apply it. As we go. And it takes a little bit of practice. There we go. And this is definitely the one for this wheel because this decal is matching the circumference of this wheel very well. I'm just keeping it in the middle. Look how great that looks. I'm a big fan of wheel decals. I think they're great. I am a huge fan of wheel decals. And there, I have applied the first one. And you notice that covered approximately, not really a third of the wheel, less than a third of the wheel. Because if I was to, so let's say, you know, this one covered how many spokes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 spokes, and then there's a little bit more. So then if I put the other one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spokes. That's about half the wheel. And I only have 3, not 4 for each side. So now they say that we have to leave 3 inches in between. So now I got to figure out, so if I'm going to measure out the 3 inches, they say 2.95 to 3.15 inches. So if I'm to grab a tape measure and say, okay, so where's 3 inches? So if I measure 3 inches out, 3 inches is right where this nub is. So I want to start where that nub is. So then, if I do that, how many spokes did it cover again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I do that, let's say we start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 puts me here. That is roughly 2/3 of the wheel. And then if I were to go 2 spokes, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, and then there's the space. So that's exactly right. So if I do it by counting spokes, I can tell that if I start the next decal right here, which is at the approximate 3-inch mark, that I will be fine. So let us continue, and we'll use 2 spokes or approximately 3 inches as our measurement. Now you want to be careful that you don't drop this anywhere and get it all dirt. Because if you do, then it's kind of game over. Because it's never going to stick. You're going to have all these little bumps. And it's going to look not great. Alright, so now this is not cooperating with me. So I'm going to take this first little bit of decal and I'm going to put it like this. This will help me get it started. So now I want to double check my measurement. I've got 2 spokes there, but do I have 3 inches? Yeah, I have a little bit more than 3 inches. And I think I'm okay with going just slightly more than 3 inches because my spoke counting method tells me that I want 2 spokes. So now I'm going to continue adhering this wheel decal to this wheel. And I've got a little space on the one side and a little space on the other, and I'm just going to maintain the same spacing. All the way around. And you do have some flexibility to move if it starts to bunch up or gather or run out of round, get too close to one side or the other. You do have some flexibility because it is vinyl. And that looks great. So now I've got 1, 2 spokes, and if I count 1, 2 spokes, that means I should have 10 spokes between here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's perfect. So now where do I want to start? So I've got the little bit more than 3 inches, right? So if I go here with a little bit more than 3 inches and do like a 1, 2 thing, this is right about where I want to start on the next portion. Right about where that nub is. So, and it doesn't have to be exact, it just has to look close, right? As long as it looks very close, no one will know the difference. I mean, it's a wheel decal, right? So, I'm going to just put this tape measure up here again. Right where I want to start is right around where that spoke is. So right around this nub is where I want to begin. So I'm going to put that on just like that. And now I'm going to look very carefully and make sure that I am in the center of the side of the rim, which I am, and I still am. And this is going very well, if I do say so myself. And there it is. Perfecto. And then we should have a little bit more than 3 inches here. Well, I've got more like 4. But it is 2 spokes, and you can't really tell. You can't really tell that the space between these 2 stickers is slightly greater than those 2 spaces. You can't really tell. It looks good enough. If you stand back and look at it, it looks good. And I'm a fan. That looks great. And we've enhanced the safety on this machine because now we have this spinning reflector, basically, in addition to the static standard reflector that's going to give high visibility at night. So that's looking good. So I'm going to do the other side of this wheel and then I'll show it to you. That looks very good, and they're fairly consistently applied. And I'll take some still shots and give you some views. But yeah, that looks great. I'm a huge fan. And with the silver and the wheel, you know, it looks right at home. That little space kind of blends in. And that looks good. So let's go on to the rear wheel. So for the rear wheel, I've shed some light on the situation here. And we're going to take our wheel decals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the first one on. And then I can count spokes and take some measurements. That worked pretty well on the front one, on the front wheel. So we're going to go with that. Okay, so the rear wheel, I'm going to apply 1 sticker first. And then I'm going to measure and count spokes and see how we work out. So I'm going to start right here because I would love to have that gap be behind the swing arm. Now right off the bat I can tell that this wheel, the edge of it, is substantially thicker. Actually it's about the same, but this decal is thinner. So there's a larger space on each side of the decal. But I have no doubt that this is the decal for this wheel, because the other one would not have even been close to the circumference. I would have had to bend it a lot, and there would have been a lot of wrinkling, because this is an 18-inch wheel, and the front is a 21-inch wheel, which is a substantial difference. So, I've kept this one in the middle very well, and there it is. So now that decal has been applied. So this decal has managed to cover 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spokes, just like the first wheel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spokes not covered. So that means I need 3 2-spoke gaps. Pretty much just like the first wheel. It's pretty much the same thing. So they do say the same distance, the 3-point-something inches between them. So if I go around this wheel up to a 3.15 or 3.5 inches, right around here, so there's my 2 spokes, and now I should start around this spoke here with my next decal, which is what I'm going to do. Just got a little dust on here. I degreased this wheel already off camera, but I have a little bit of dust that has accumulated on the wheel just from sitting here. And so I am going to get this dust off, because I don't want dust getting on my decal, because the dust will affect how it adheres. So, got to make sure that your wheel is good and clean. And I'm amazed at how fast the dust built up. There's dust all over everything in here. There was a little bit of a breeze a little while ago, and I do have the garage door open, so that is most likely the culprit. So we need the 2 spokes. And so then I'm going to start probably just a little bit this side of that spoke. And that's my plan. So I don't get decal sticking someplace I don't want it, I'm just going to tack that there for now. And then there is the 1, 2. And the distance is right there. So I want to start right about here with this one. And again, the secret to getting it to line up really well is to start straight. The straighter you start, the straighter it will stay as you are applying. And don't skip ahead. You know, you need to apply it, you know, in order. Like, you can't stick the end of it and then stick the middle. You need to start from one end and go to the other, like you see me doing with my thumb here. And then that enables you to bend it when you need to, straighten it when you need to, so that you can maintain your even spacing, which I am doing pretty good at. If you look really closely and kind of get a feel for the amount of gap that you have on the one side, and just maintain that gap, maintain the same amount of gap. So there is that decal, and again, there's the space, approximately 2 spokes worth of space. So then I need approximately 2 more spokes worth of space, and measuring this out, I would probably start near this valve stem, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then here's my 2 spokes and my other space. So starting right near that valve stem with the 3rd one for this side will work perfectly. So I'm working up high now, so I do not have to stick it to something, because it's not going to touch the lift and get dirt like it did a minute ago on the other wheel. Ended up with a pine needle in it. That's not good. And it likes to run toward the center. It's almost like these decals are just a little bit, for a little bit too small a wheel. But you can bypass that by just bending it. It is vinyl. It is somewhat flexible. So if you kind of tug on it just a little bit, not much, you don't want to break the vinyl or distort the vinyl. But if you just kind of tug on it a little bit and bend it to where you want it, it will go. And there's that. And then there's my gap between the two stickers. And, you know, yeah, I'm right there with the 4 inches. So that looks very good. And I've got my 3 decals. And they will spin and reflect and do their thing. And we'll do the other side. And then I'll come back and show you the finished product with some photos. Now, I have to admit, CFMOTO kind of got me into wheel decals. They put them on most of their bikes. And I really like how they looked, so I started doing some research on wheel decals and found some for this. So the KLX, the wheel decals look perfect on there. It's going to add a lot of reflectivity from the side. This is a very simple, easy thing that you can do to your motorcycle to enhance your visibility and safety, and I think add a little bit of style. You can see my Adventura, actually the one CFMOTO that didn't come with wheel decals, has those on there. And then there's a good shot of the yellow on the 700CL-X. I'm a big fan. So, go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you so very much. I appreciate all of that. Also, feel free to check me out on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, all as Angelo's Motocycle. I look forward to seeing you next Friday for another video all about the wonderful world of motorcycling.